We are going to take a look at communication plans. These are just formal communication plans. Market the value of strategic sourcing strategies and initiatives to management and internal stakeholders. So purchasing's got to target the correct group to communicate with and tailor the communication to that group. So senior management is interested in one set of things like tangible cost reduction goals that can be achieved this year. Manufacturing companies, more than 50% of the operating budget goes for outsourced goods and services. And a company's year-end spend analysis often offers likely candidates for purchasing to work on. So categories with high unexpected spend levels should be at the top of the list. Conduct periodic briefings to senior management on strategic sourcing initiatives, which we do all the above. Internal stakeholders. So you communicate a little differently with these guys. This is materials and engineering and etc. Purchasing needs regular communication with stakeholders on strategic sourcing projects. You should brief the status, results, and additional opportunities. And you can be a great help to the internal customers as a troubleshooter for problems that appear in the supply base for things like supply disruptions, project cost overruns, anticipated plant shutdowns. You're kind of a middleman communicator in these cases. Purchasing should not become a firefighter and order placement organization only, although we do our fair share of firefighting here. Internal customers need to be educated on the value of strategic sourcing to avoid problematic supply issues, in theory. All right, so there's the ISM version of the written communications plan. It's got 10 steps to it, which is a lot. But write the plan down, evaluate current communications, define objectives, define the audience, define the goals, identify tools, develop cost estimates, establish a timetable, establish result or evaluate results, and the C3 philosophy, which I'm trying to think is something, we'll get to it. Where are we at? So 10 steps to communication plan development. Create a document of plan, so you got to write the plan down. It's like writing down your speech. It just helps commit it to memory. Use the most effective software to convey ideas, spreadsheets, word processing, presentation software for presentations, which is basically a Microsoft PowerPoint. Evaluate current communications. Conduct a communications audit to find out things like questions to ask. What is currently being communicated? What is each communication activity designed to achieve? And how effective is the current effort? So you're trying to get a status quo or a baseline. Techniques to get answers to the above. So you brainstorm, interview key personnel, survey, hot focus groups, etc. Okay, define objectives and results. So some samples may include promote support for the supplier diversity program, define services to internal customers, get a better understanding of cycle times, improve product delivery. And once you've got the objectives, then you need to define the audience. Who would you want to contact? Internal customers, management, overall organization. Who's on your list of need to know for this subject? And then you got to define your goals. Why are you making this speech in the first place? What are the intended changes? What are the intended accomplishments? And then decide what tools to use. Develop the cost estimates, determine the benefit of each approach, and establish a timetable. Once the objectives, goals, and audiences and tools have been identified, quantify the results into a timeline that outlines roughly what will be accomplished and when. It's kind of a project milestone schedule. And then you got to evaluate the results. So you got to be able to measure the results. Monthly report on work in progress, formalized department reports, periodic briefings, annual summary, etc. Oh yeah, the C3 philosophy is communicate, 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 which they stole from real estate, which is location, location, location. Use 3 means to communicate. Even then, only 80% of the intended audience will be reached. So the communication plan, effective, consistent communication to internal employees, stress these important messages. Desire to add value, commitment to supply chain efficiency, diverse supplier playing a major role, strategic initiatives being dependent on the ability to implement. And this is kind of a misleading thing. It says possible components, but it's really techniques to deliver your communication plan. There's a few of them in there. And then develop a written plan. Take effort, but the rewards for the planning process far outweigh the initial investment. Oh, this is President Eisenhower, who was the D-Day commander during World War II. He said, in preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. So you make the plan, but you know the enemy is not going to read that, but you know how to adjust. And this is another way to communicate a monthly plan, a written plan. Methods of communication. So you got feedback mechanisms, take several forms: quarterly performance, offsite workshop, third-party consultants, surveys, blog. I don't know if anybody actually uses blogs anymore. Executive dashboard. The chief purchasing officer should work with top management to determine metrics. They should be put into a dashboard, usually contain 1 to 3 metrics around each KPI. And then, so there's a PACCAR course on presentation skills, which is a very good course. I've taken it. This version is waitlisted, but you videotape yourself doing a presentation. And it's quite surprising to watch yourself on videotape. It's like, wow, I didn't know I had that nervous tick. But it's goes through a lot of the same stuff. It has its own steps, but these are the ISM steps. Consider the objective, recognize factors, recognize the importance, and know who the ultimate decision maker is. So here's their steps. Define the objective. There's 7 steps for ISM. Analyze the audience, plan the presentation tactics, organize it, prepare the script, consider the physical factors, and deliver. And PACCAR's version is similar. 7-step process. What is the focus? You got to define the objective. What does the presenter want the audience to know, believe, or do? Is it audience-centered or presenter-centered? Then you got to analyze the audience. Who is it that you're giving the presentation to? Their understanding level, audience's attitude towards the presenter or the subject matter. Put yourself in their position. Plan the presentation tactics. Decide if you're going to have one or several presentations. Length and timing, who should attend, how to overcome identifiable obstacles, etc. And then organize the presentation. You want a strong opening. This is just like writing a newspaper article. Want a strong opening, convey basic information, presenter, scope, criteria, what is expected. It's always good to tell the audience what is expected of them. Main theme is the basic information the presenter wants to get across, which is the body of the presentation, and the ending should summarize the presentation, highlight any action items and objectives. Prepare the script, because you always should work off the script on important presentations. Write down what you want to say. If you got unfamiliar terms, define them, because if they're unfamiliar to you, they're probably unfamiliar to your audience. Try not to use acronym soup. Consider the details. Too little detail will confuse, too much will be tedious. Get to the point quickly. Do not emphasize differences between you and your audience. Nobody wants to hear that. You want to hear emphasize similarities. Keep visual aids, printout and flip charts simple. Don't get real detailed, dense visual aids because they don't look good when you're in the audience. Maintain unity, keep all visuals in PowerPoint consistent in design, and make visuals readable by using bold, large type, not fancy script, old English script, and all this other jazz. And stay away from stuff I've been showing you with all the spinning letters and everything. That's just kind of annoying. Integrate audio visuals, let each channel do some work. And consider physical factors that affect the audience in a particular room. Seating arrangements, temperature, background noise. Now, when I was doing the SPM dinners, seating arrangements were critical for like dinner because you don't want competitors sitting across from each other. They get into arguments. So temperature, size and shape, air circulation, lighting, seating arrangements, acoustics, kind of get a feel for all of that stuff in the presentation room. And then deliver the presentation. Be yourself, engage the audience by using eye contact. You don't stare them down, but you look at them on occasion. Be aware of distraction, repetitive body movements, playing with pointers and stuff like that. Pay attention to nonverbal cues from the audience, like they're falling asleep. And monitor the audience's reaction to gauge interest. And when things go wrong, keep going. So social media, this is from 2018, so I don't know how current it is, but CAPS, the Center for Advanced Purchasing Studies, found that supply management is in the early stages of using social media. Internets are clearly the most used social media. Baby boomers control and direct use of social media use in companies today, which means we don't use it much. Social media is used to the extent that management directives will allow it. And prohibiting social media from being used during work hours does not work. People use their phones. Gen X and Gen Y increasingly demand the use of social media in the workplace. But you'll see this gradually improve as the baby boomers all retire who don't know how to work the phones. Some of the uses and benefits of social media are communicating instantly and often across the company, bridging the information divide, reducing cycle time, communicating to the supply base, monitoring business performance, managing just in time, increasing supplier and customer engagement, etc. Technology platforms, using social media platforms to share things like commodity strategies, performance improvement plans, sourcing results. You got to define which audience gets to see what, but platforms should be chosen based on what it will be used for. So if you want to publish newsletters, you need a platform for that. You want to share a presentation with stakeholders, you need a platform for that. Scorecards can also be another platform. And now we've got a few questions here. Which of the following choices is the best feedback mechanism?
C.
Yeah, and I would say you're right, but I know ISM always goes, every time they conduct a 360 survey, it's always the answer. Let's see what they say. Yeah, conduct a 360 survey. It's like, yeah, okay. The most effective methods of communicating with top management are what? I
I,
We do
I
all of them.
yeah, I
Which
feel
one? You got to pick one.
strongly I feel strongly about B, formal
Yeah,
quarterly presentations, including strategies and results.
yeah, because it's long. It's not the longest, but it's pretty long, and it's got results and strategies together.
I would, okay.
That's why I like it. But let's see if these guys like it. B it is. Okay. There are 9 questions out there. Why don't you guys go ahead and pull them down on the chat, and then we'll go over answers. If I don't hear from you, if you don't have your hand raised, we'll go over them at 3:55. But raise your hand when you get done. All right. We'll look at some answers here. Number 1 is Charlie, because analysis, supplier market conditions, and supplier performance are core responsibilities of supply management, and thus appropriate for reports from that function. Hopefully that's the right page I'm reading.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Option R2 is alpha, inclusion of an ethics policy. 3 is delta, senior management is in results that most affect financial performance. 4 is Charlie.
Wait.
Whoop.
Go back to 3.
3, yeah.
The question is,
What is the question?
metrics on orders placed and requisitions processed.
50%.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes they're not all that clear. All right.
Okay.
4, Charlie. Easiest way to start corralling the corporate spend is to find categories that are abnormally high. 5 is delta. Category manager's job is to mediate issues between internal customers and the supply base. 6 is alpha, because discussions during lunch periods would not be part of the communication plan. 7 is delta. Who will perform the communications plan is not part of it. 8 is Charlie, because communication metrics or reports would not be included in the communication plan. Okay. 9
This is a
is
tricky one because, like,
yeah.
at first I was like supplier diversity, but then the next question is like, communication should include supplier diversity program.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll do that. So you'll read a question and then the next question will give you a hint to the previous one. All right, 9 is delta. Any other questions? All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Actually, can you remind me what we need to get to pass 60%?
55 is generally,
Oh,
it depends.
okay.
It depends on the version of the test because they're all a little different. So you can't come back and tell Aaron what's on the test. So it's usually right around 55% though. Sometimes as low as 53.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know how they measure it. Like, when I took it, I felt like the other exam, it felt really brutal, and I wasn't even sure how I managed to pass. But it's like 400, I think, out of like a 600 scale. I don't know how they measure each question.
Yeah, and you won't see people getting over 500 much, if at all. I haven't seen it because they ask these questions that are just, I mean, they're essentially an opinion, right? So you have to kind of guess what ISM's opinion would be, and you're not always right. But yeah, I mean, it's pass fail. If you practice the questions, I've only had one person fail on the first attempt, and that person just locked up and freaked out when he had to do formal testing. So then that's kind of what happened to him. I mean, but even people with English as a second language have passed on the first try. I mean, it's practicing enough of these questions so you understand what it is they're asking. All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah. Talk to you then.